stressed out a little bit with home life and school and life in general.
Can I ask you what about your home life you're stressed about?
Well, I am a 28-year-old adult who still lives with her parents, and I still have those rules and restrictions still on me that I feel like that I was when I was 12, and I'm an adult kind of thing. And it's getting really hard to, abide by their rules because I still want to be respectful, but also being who I want to be at the same time.
May I ask what kind of rules and restrictions your parents place upon you?
Just like, what are you doing? Who are you going to be with? Are you coming home? Like, just normal, parenting things. But it gets to the point where it's just like, it's too much. Or constantly questioning my every move. Like, why are you doing this? Are you sure this is the right decision you want to do? Like, I see that they're being parents, but at the same time, like, let me do what I want to do kind of thing.
So what would you have to do as far as getting away from the rules and restrictions? What do you feel like you would have to do for that to stop?
Honestly, it will probably be to move out. I don't see any other option.
So by moving out on your own, you believe they will stop
Correct.
placing rules and restrictions on
Right.
you?
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have to feel like a child all the time kind of thing.
Have you started looking for places to move to?
Yeah, I looked at a couple places that like are close to my work, and they're like across town. So I mean, I think that distance is good, but at the same time, like, I would just told them about it. They're like, well, I don't think you can afford it, those kind of questions. And it's like, I've looked into this, I'm not gonna just go, hey, let's do this, but.
So when you told them your decision about moving, they questioned your choice
Everything.
about it?
And then there was one actually that I saw, and I'm probably going to take it. And they were like, well, is it in the good part of the town, or is it in like the not so good part of the town? Like, that's actually, and then I showed them the pictures that were on Craigslist, and they're like, well, that's kind of expensive. Do you really think that, again, do you really think you can afford it? Do you feel safe that you're going to be by yourself? And just questions, and I'm just like, I'm an adult, I'm 28 years old, please let me fly, pretty much, kind of thing.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, by them questioning you constantly,
Yeah.
it makes you feel like you're still a child?
Yeah, and it's really frustrating because I'm trying to, go to grad school, work a full-time job, and still have kind of like a social life on top of everything, and I can't because I have to like still be a 12-year-old. You know what I mean? Still like, all right, mom and dad, I'm going to, Eaton Park with this person, this person, this person, this person. I'll probably be back around midnight.
So that's what a 12-year-old looks like to you, someone who has to answer to their parents constantly?
Right.
Can I ask you what your relationship is like with your mother?
I love my mom. When I was 14, she was diagnosed with cancer and was supposed to, pretty much stage 4, so she was supposed to die, actually. But she's been in remission ever since, so, like, we're really close. And I feel like sometimes, though, she depends on me a little bit more, but then still questions me at the same time. So it's like I have to take care of her more than I would like to because she's my mom, but at the same time, she's the one who texts me at like 3 in the morning, are you okay? Are you coming home? That kind of thing. So, but other than that, we're okay. We're good. She's like my best friend, so.
So what you're saying is your mom depends on you, and she like wants your help on things.
Right. Yeah, she has a lot of complications from the cancer, so mobility is really hard on her. So she'll be like, can you run to the store for me to grab milk, or can you go to the bank and deposit this check, or just those little things. And it can be tough because I'm like, I have 5 projects due this week, Mom, plus, like, I want to have some kind of, like, social interaction so I don't go insane. Plus, I'm looking at apartments, plus I have a full-time job.
So you feel like with your mother depending on you so much in your life,
Right.
you feel like you're juggling a lot?
Yeah, right, because I feel like if I don't help her, that I'm letting her down, and then I don't want that to happen either, because, like, she can't do it on her own, so who else will do it for her?
So you wanna help your mother, but the times when you don't wanna help her, you feel bad about it.
Right, or can't do it because I'm across town, or just unable to.
Okay, well, you said that you will be moving across town.
Right.
Do you feel like she could still depend on you?
I think I could help her, like, with doctor's appointments, like, that kind of thing, if I know far in advance, but, like, the little nitpicky running errands, I can't do that anymore. Just actually a few weeks ago, I was at my friend's house, and we, like, started drinking a little bit of wine or something, you know, just to relax, and I'm one of those, if I drink, I'm not driving, like, strictly, you know. But like I said, I was across town, I was 4 miles away from work, so I was like, I'll just stay here, drive home, or, you know, drive to work in the morning. I got a text message from her asking to go to the bank for her at like 10 o'clock if I can run to the bank sometime the next day, which was the day that I had to work. I'm like, I don't know if I'm coming home, like, I don't want to drive home kind of thing. And it would be so much gas to drive back and forth, so it was just kind of like,
Well, what was her response when you told her you weren't going to drive across town?
I woke up the next day to 6 text messages asking where I was going, if I was going, and then never mind, she got it. So it's like that guilt trip, yeah. Like,
So she made you feel bad about it.
right, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, what is your relationship like with your dad?
A little dysfunctional. Him and I usually don't see eye to eye. He kind of judges me on everything, every little thing that I do, like every little detailed thing. Like, I remember in high school I got a 3.8 GPA, and he was like, "You can do better than that." Like, not like, "Hey, good job, you got 4 A's and 1 A minus," you know, that kind of thing. It was, "You can do better than that." And then when I applied to grad school, he was like, "Why are you even doing that if you didn't do anything with your undergrad degree?" Yeah, and then I made, like, this is crazy, but like I made a lamp, and he couldn't even see like how nice it was. It was, "Well, you should have done it this way instead." Like, I just made a lamp out of a vase and a block of wood. Like,
Where do you believe this judgmentality comes from?
I think his parents were the same way, to be quite honest. So, I mean, if that's all you know, that's all you know, kind of thing.
Right, so you believe since his parents was like that towards him, he's
Right.
being like that towards you.
Right, and I've confronted him about it, and he's like, "No, I'm not like that." And I was like, "Dad, yes you are. Like, you don't know, like, hey, good job, hey, you know." And then when I brought that up, he was like, "Well, I don't do that. I always tell everybody how proud I am of you." I was like, "Yeah, you tell everybody else, but not me." So it's just kind of like,
So you
what
had
to do.
a conversation with him,
Mhm.
conversations, and you
Right.
confronted him about
Mhm.
what he does and how it makes you feel.
Right.
Has he changed his behavior?
Yeah, he just doesn't talk to me.
He doesn't talk to you at
Not
all?
really. It'll just be like a "Hi, how are you?"
And
kind of thing.
Are you okay with that?
Yes and no, because probably like the last real conversation was on Christmas, and the only thing he said, well, you know, the Merry Christmas part, but then I work with adults with mental health issues, so I worked Christmas Eve just to get some overtime, and I wanted to be with them actually. And he goes, "So how were your crazies last night?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" Like, it was just, I felt so disrespected, because I'm like, this is my job. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. But yet, you're calling my, the residents that I work for crazies when they, and I'm just like, they're not that bad.
Mm. So to me, it sounds like he may not understand what you're doing in the field you're working in.
Right.
And so he's making jokes, inappropriate jokes that you find disrespectful.
Right. So all Christmas I cried and I left and went somewhere else for a couple hours because I couldn't even stand looking at him from that.
You left your home on Christmas?
Yeah, I went to my old manager's house with her family.
And how did you feel hanging around a family that wasn't your own on Christmas?
Well, I usually always stop there because for 8 years she was like my second mom kind of thing when I worked at Fashion Bug. So her whole family knows, everyone knows me. So I felt welcome, but at the same time I'm like, I should be with my family, but I didn't feel welcome because of those comments.
Do you feel like you and your dad could ever get to a place where he understands you and you understand him? Do you think that's possible?
I would hope so. He mentioned something at one point, like when we had one of those conversations, like, well, maybe we need to go into therapy and da-da-da-da. And at that point, and I'm like, we shouldn't even have gotten to that point, not that I'm against therapy, because I'm not, because I'm here, but it's just, I had to be so vocal for it to be so apparent to him that he makes me miserable. And he's the reason why I worked 80 hours a week. That's why I'm never home. That's why.
Well, did you guys ever go into therapy together?
No. I mean, that conversation just happened 2 months ago.
Will you consider it? Or?
I don't know. We had a decent relationship when I lived in college, and I was on my own, and when I wanted to call him, it was because I wanted to, and it was to catch up, and it was very positive then. But then as soon as I got back home, it was the same, role as the kid and the parent, as opposed to what it was.
Okay, I see that you keep bringing up how being on your own,
Right.
and how it was when you were on your own away at college.
Right.
So do you believe that once you move out on your own, your relationship with your dad will go back to how it was when you were in college?
I think it would get better. I do. And I kind of told him that. I was like, I need to work on me first before I can deal with any other relationship, because I have to be happy. That's, the most important thing.
So for you right now, the primary focus is yourself.
Right.
And someday or whenever you're ready,
Okay.
you feel like you can deal with that relationship again?
Right.
So I know I asked you about your mom and your dad. So with you moving, how soon would that happen?
Well, I just looked at a place. They're doing the credit check now. They actually just got back to me today, so they said that I was approved or whatever, so I just have to sign the lease, and I'm out.
And you'll be on your own,
Yeah.
like you want to.
I need this. I feel like I have no choice. It was easier when I worked 80 hours a week because it was just work on top of work on top of work on top of work, maybe some fun, and then go to sleep, and then the whole process all over again. But with me being in school, it's really tough to prioritize because I can't concentrate in that house. So I have to find places to do my homework. And not that I'm doing bad, because I'm not, but it's just that I know I could do better.
Okay, so you feel like, I know you said once you move out their house, you will be on your own, which
Right.
will make you happy.
Right.
But you feel like you'll be able to focus on school more?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Right.
Because you won't have that distraction
Right.
as far as your mom and your dad.
Right. That constant, I don't want to say the constant judgment from my dad and the constant dependency from my mom, but kind of, yeah.
Okay, so when you move, are you going to invite them to visit?
see. I mean, they can come over anytime they want if I'm there, but, they're gonna help me move in, and I'm sure they'll spend too much time when we move in, but it is what it is. They're my parents, so I'm stuck with them, lack of a better word, but.
So they are going to help you move in?
Yeah, well, they want to, so I'm just gonna let them,
Okay, since they want to, you're going to allow them?
right, yeah,
Okay.
so, even though I have people who would help me move, but that's besides the point.
I know we talked about your family life, and you talked about how, you want to do better for school.
Right.
Well, how is school?
School's amazing, like, I'm starting to find myself again. I don't want to keep going back, but when I was in my undergrad, on my own, going to school, the only stress was homework in my life. Like, I wasn't really ever stressed about pleasing my parents or running errands for my mom or constantly being judged by my dad or just, all that kind of stuff. I could just be Erin. So I want to get back to that point.
So not saying that school is stressing you out.
Right.
But far as when you're on your own, that you want that to be the main focus
Right.
that you
My
worry
main
about.
stress.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Because I know with my job I'll pay all my bills. I'll still have like some spending money. So like I have all those priorities set in stone. So it'll just mainly be my stressor will be to get all these awesome projects done because they're piling up fast.
So can I ask what you go to school for?
I'm actually going to be a counselor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm trying to get all that baggage out before going into the real world,
So what made you go to school for counseling?
Because I want to help people. Ideally, I want to work with, again, the genre that I want to work with, my dad's not okay with. I want to work with, like, the at-risk behavior kids, like youth. So, actually, not to bring my dad back, but I had a job in a partial hospital, which was a partial hospital, partial day school program. And it was all the kids who got, like, pretty much kicked out of school. And so they were placed in this school, and my dad's like, I can't believe you're going to take this job with those hoodlums, and you have to be careful, and da-da-da-da-da. Meanwhile, I had a 6'5" football player, person come into me bawling his eyes out. Miss Nat Nat, please come, help me, like, I can't deal with life, I just need, literally, 6'5" dude, like, just come, sit with me, and let me, and so, they're not this big, bad, awful people.
Well, let me ask you this. I see that you like helping people.
I do.
And you have a, strained relationship between your mom and your dad. So who do you go for help when you need it?
I have 2 older friends who I go to a lot. And I also have my manager that I had at Fashion Vogue that I went to for Christmas. She's pretty much like that motherly person that I sometimes go to because sometimes I don't want to tell my mom things because she eventually goes and tells my dad. And then that breaks that kind of like that breach kind of thing. So I usually just go to my manager and talk to her about all that stuff.
So you feel like when you confide in your mother, she want to go and tell your dad?
She does.
She does?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you feel like your dad's going to be judgmental about what you and her discussed?
Right. And even if it is serious and she's like, well, you need to tell your dad, by the time I'm ready to tell him, he already knows.
Well, how does that make you feel when she
It's
tells
really
your
frustrating.
dad?
It's really, and it kind of like just makes me like irate, to be quite honest. Because I told her when I got my acceptance letter to Carlo, like, I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm starting grad school in January. That's how the conversation was. I didn't even tell them that I was applying because I didn't want any questioning. I wanted to do this on my own because anytime that I want to make a big life choice, it's always like, are you sure? Why don't you try this instead? And that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to get. Like, that's just my mentality. So she goes and tells my dad, and she's like, so your dad wants to know if he can help you. And with school, one day, the next day, he's like, oh, I didn't know you were in school. And I'm like, Mom told you. And he's like, oh, you're right. So it's just like, sheesh, but.
We're going to stop right there.
Okay.
And we'll pick up the next time,
Okay.
our next session.
Alrighty.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, see ya.
Thank you.